this is their words, the problem that mankind has had and humankind has had is you have been taught to fear power because you've been suppressed by the powerful for so long. You had no power, you had powerless, you were suppressed by the powerful. So in your energy field and the collective energy field is much fear of power. What is happening is a dissolving, a resolution of that, to begin to understand that power itself is a beautiful thing. It's all about whose hands it is in. And when it is in the hands of love, it is a wonderful, wondrous thing. Between 2012 and 2032, this rising of the energy, the rising of the power, before your power could rise, the disempowerment needed to reduce enough for your power as a people to come up. And that's what was happening in the first part of this, through 2000 to 2010.
Julie Poole, welcome on Just Tap In. What are you most excited about right now in your life?
Oh, bless you. Thank you for having me. It's wonderful to meet you, Emilio. What am I personally excited about? For me, I'm in the process of moving into my dream forever home after moving around for decades and decades and decades, to finally be able to have manifested the dream, the permanency, the security, and that's happening in the next few weeks. That's hugely exciting for me personally. But on a more conscious global level, I'm loving this shift that we're having. I knew this shift was coming a long, long time ago, but this shift of 2024 and 2025, which has been ramping up, I can really feel the difference in the energy this September. I was connecting in with my spiritual team earlier, and they were saying that, you've done the bulk of the work, the collective, between March, end of March, when the eclipses came in, until the end of August, was this bring everything up, bring everything out, any limitations, restrictions, that part of you that says, I can't do this, I can't do that. It's like, yes, you can, yes, you can. We've been going through this big shake-up. And now in September, it feels as if all that energy is settling down. It's still a little bit chaotic, it's still a little bit frenetic, but as we move through to the rest of the year, we're just feeling that shift, because what we're doing is we're moving into the 5D. So we're coming from the heart, we're moving from the solar plexus into the heart center. So everything that isn't heart center, it's, in that the solar plexus, that confidence and trust and power and joy. And we've been kind of getting the hang of that and working with our power and personal power and spiritual power. Now we're shifting into the heart. So we can feel that energy. And I've just finished doing all the readings for September for my channel. And it's been a kind of a theme across all the different star signs of this big shift forward. And not everybody's going through massive things like new job, divorce, marriage, moving home, but a lot of people are. They're really shifting out of that old space, and I can feel it. And, we're just pushing this energy into the collective consciousness, saying, come on, you can do it. Don't be scared. Feel the fear and do it anyway. The other side of fear is abundance. Just go with what the heart is saying. The heart is trying to lead you into your best life, into your future life, and your future self is kind of encouraging you, come on, you can do it. So this is the excitement that I have right now, is that we're lifting and we're purging and we're connecting into that oneness. There's been a very strong theme about connections and community and support, and that's getting stronger too. So it's beautiful. It's a wonderful time. We've got another sort of a year and a half of this to go before everything starts to settle down. But, we're not long now from 2032 when we're really in that 5D heart-centered energy. It's been a build-up for over 50 years. And, I've been watching it for most of that 50 years. And so, back in the 70s, when they told me this was coming through, was ever such a long way away. I didn't even know if I'd still be here at that time. And now 2024, it's like, we got another 5, 6, 7, 8 years. It's shifting. And I'm still here to see it. Happy days.
And I could feel the joy and happiness from you as you even just explain what's going on in the world right now. And I've heard you say that you only started to enjoy life in the last 5 or 6 years. So talk to us about, what is that shift from going from, seeing life as it's just happening to us, it's chaotic, not really enjoying it, to actually being in a state of your, I know you say you teach from your I am presence, being in that state to really be open to the joys of life and the beauty that surrounds us.
Yeah, we go through these different transitions and things to get to where we need to be. But yeah, my relationship with life for the first 20 years was extremely bad. I hated life. I did not want to be here. It was too hard, too heavy. I was incredibly spiritually aware, and I was aware of the other side, and I would regularly go home for a visit. I was meditating from the time I was about 12, 13. And I was able to connect with spirit very, very strongly all through my teens. I knew what the other side was. I felt that bliss, oneness, peace, connection, total unconditional love. And I looked around me in my life and I didn't see any of it. No evidence whatsoever. Things were very, very hard. There was a lot of trauma. There was a lot of violence. There was a lot of hatred in my personal life and all around me. There was no sense of love. And I knew what it was on the other side. And I was like, what am I doing here? I want to be there. So I didn't like life at all. And then after my 20s, I started to find some kind of, I would call it a truce. Me and life were no longer enemies, but we weren't friends either. We kind of found a truce. It's like, I waved the white flag. I've got to be here. This is where I've got to be. So I may as well get on with it and make the most of it. And for the next 20 years, we carried on, me and life, with this truce. I didn't particularly like it, but I didn't hate it. This is where I am, acceptance, okay? And then that moved through into my 40s and 50s, where life got a lot better, a lot easier, a lot less stressful. And we got on, me and life, a little bit better. We were more friendly, but we weren't in love. I wasn't in love with life, and it wasn't in love with me. We just put up with each other, really. And it took me until my mid-50s before I really started seeing the beauty in life, the ease in life, the joy in life. I was always, up until that point, looking for something outside of myself to be able to see the beauty in life. So if I had a loving relationship, if I had a loving partnership, then everything was okay. But when that relationship ended, it's like, oh, well, back on my own then. It was always, a great job or a great home or a great this, that, the other would give me some joy. But they were all outside of myself, and mostly they were transient. So they weren't permanent. So it took me until I was in my mid-50s when I figured out finally the law of attraction. I'd been working with the law of attraction for 15 years, and I'd been able to manifest an awful lot of good stuff in my life. Life definitely got easier, but there was a lot of missing pieces of the manifesting puzzle. I wasn't able to manifest abundance. I wasn't able to manifest the really beautiful stuff. It went from being pretty awful to being okay, and then it went from being okay to being a little bit better. But finally, around 2018, 2019, I figured it out. I figured out that it was about my power, and I hadn't been fully taking it. I figured out that I had a huge amount of unconscious beliefs that were blocking me from abundance, success, love, all sorts of other stuff. And as I started to understand what the underlying energy was and started to overcome it and neutralize it and change it, the results were just staggering, absolutely staggering. The way my life went from being pretty good to absolutely amazing within a few months. And the more it was working, the more I was working with it, and the better life got. And none of it was outside of me. Everything was inside of me. And I worked out that I'd been waiting for God to fix things for a long time. I've been waiting for life to fix things for a long time. And eventually I kind of figured it out The only person who can fix it is me, because I am life and because I am God personified. And stop waiting for everything out there to fix it. You take your power on every level from a place of love and you do it. And as soon as I did that, everything transformed. I cannot believe the difference in 5 years. And in that 5 years, not only have I been able to basically live the life that I've always wanted to live, but I've been able to show other people how to do it and help them to improve their life too. And the joy in that, because we're all a mirror, aren't we? We're all connected. What we learn, we can share that. And I spend a fair bit of time putting out energy into the collective consciousness to lift the whole consciousness of the universe and the planet and people. But it's a joy when you're working one-to-one with people of seeing the ripple effect, because we lift them, then they go and lift 10 people that they know, and they go and lift 10 people, and we have that pay it forward energy, which is one of my favorite books of all time. I love that, pay it forward, simplicity. And then, being able to push that through into my tarot readings on my YouTube channel, because a lot of people listen to me. I mean, I look at it now, and again, with the difference in 5 years, because I've had that channel for 10 years, and it's only since 2019 when I really started applying all of this that everything's gone whoosh, and there's nearly 1 million people a month watch me now. And that's fantastic. It's humbling. It's terrifying. But at the same time, it's like, look how many people I can help. So when the messages come through from the cards, I'm teaching the law of attraction. I'm showing them what action to take and saying, this is the energy and this is what you can do about it if you choose to, if you align with that. And to be able to push that message out through my books as well. And, when my Law of Attraction book came out in 2022, and about 3 months ago, it hit the bestseller in Kindle, only in America, not in the whole world, but in the Kindle America, for that 1 week, it went to #1. I was just like, oh my God, I'm so excited. Thank you so much. It was amazing. And through that, reaching so many people, we're helping lift. There doesn't have to be this struggle. I had that struggle for 55 years, and I don't want it to take you 55 years to learn what I finally figured out. I didn't just get there at 55. I'd been learning all the way through, and I'd learned so much, and I'd shared so much, and I've been teaching since 2000, and teaching an awful lot of stuff. But there was these missing pieces of the jigsaw that made all the difference. So if you imagine a jigsaw with just half a dozen pieces missing, you can't see the full picture. It's a bit foggy. You can feel there's something missing. It's like making a cake and you're missing an ingredient. It comes out, it just doesn't taste right. And that's what was happening for me and a lot of people, because I, like many other people in 2007, read The Secret when it came out. And I was so excited. I'm like, oh my God, this is brilliant. I loved that book. And I applied it. I did my vision boards. I believed it. I wrote my check from the universe. I did the whole thing. And I waited, all excited, and nothing. Zip. Nothing. And I'm like, okay, I know this works, because I'm talking to my spiritual team and they're saying, yes, this is right. And I'm like, well, I'm doing it wrong then. What am I doing wrong? And I was reading reviews and comments from other people, and they were saying the same thing. It doesn't work for me. The law of attraction's rubbish. And I'm like, it's not rubbish. We're doing it wrong. There's something missing. We need to find the missing pieces of the puzzle. And it took me 15 years to find them, but I found them in the end. No, not 15 years, 12 years. But yeah, I got there in the end. It took me till 2019 to be able to figure it out. And then whoosh, my income has 10x'd, 10 times what it was in 5 years. I'm now buying my dream home that I couldn't have even imagined 5 years ago. So yeah, that's just about money, but it's more than that. I love life. My health has improved. My energy has improved. Everything. You apply it once you figure out what you're doing wrong and you turn it around, you can push that into every part of your life. And I'm so excited about life now. I love life. And now my spiritual team say I'm going to be here for another 20 odd years. I'm like, okay, then potentially 30 years. They're telling me somewhere around late 80s, early 90s. I'm like, oh dear, I didn't expect to go on that long. Well, I better make friends with life then if we've got all of that still to go. Let's make the best of it. So, yeah, I love life. I think it's wonderful, but I didn't for a very, very long time.
Yeah. And in those years when you didn't, and taking you back to your early 20s, where I think a lot of us that begin a spiritual journey, we have this, you said it best, this like longing for home. Like, where is our true home? And at 21, you made that decision. I'm permanently going to go back home, wherever that is, outside of this physical reality. And you took a massive overdose. And while you were in that space, going to bed afterwards, saying, this is probably the last time I'm going to go to sleep here. And then you were taken up to the angelic realm. They started to teach you about karma and different like esoteric things, your family, inheritances and ancestral energy. They told you you would come back and it wasn't your time yet. And I feel that anyone that goes up to the angelic realm and comes back brings with them some keys or some energies or frequencies back down that is now allowing you to enjoy life, but helping others enjoy life as well. So what is it about that energy of the angelic realm that you feel that you've taken back with you and are now applying it and helping other people feel that energy as well?
Yeah, it's a lovely question. I mean, I'd started connecting with spirit from the time I was about 8. So, even at 5 or 6, I remember playing at the bottom of the garden under our huge tree, and that was my fairy glen. I used to play with the fairies there, and I could see the energy of the tree and the flowers. I could see light and colour. Then, I'd say to my sister, who was 4 years older than me, look at the lovely lights around the tree. And she'd look at me like, what are you talking about? I was always very spiritual. And then around about the age of 8 or 9, I had an out of body experience and I connected with Jesus. And then after that, I was being taught directly from the energy, the voices in my head. Sometimes Jesus would appear on my bed and we'd talk. And I'd go to church and I would have instant downloads when I was going to church, when the vicar would be giving their sermon. And I would be hearing, that's right, that's wrong, that's not true, that is. And as I was like, oh, okay, I was having all this information. And then around 17, 18, that's when I first saw my guides and really clearly they would come down to me here on this realm when I was in a quiet, peaceful place. We didn't call it meditation back then, in the early 80s. I was just in my quiet space and I could talk to my guides, but they would come visit me. And then at 21, when I took that overdose, it wasn't a cry for help. It was, I'm going home. I do not want to be here anymore. I'm off. And the relief that I wouldn't have to wake up tomorrow with trauma, with fear, with panic attacks, with flashbacks. I'm out. I can't wait to go. I was in that energy. But that was the first time that I was able to go to them. They'd been coming to me for over 10 years, 13 years. They'd been coming to me. So they would come down from the higher realms to me and we would be able to connect. But this was the first time I was visiting them. It's like, when you go to a friend's house and it's always you going to theirs for coffee and then finally they come to you for coffee.
Let's make it reciprocal, bro.
Yeah, it's like, right. So because my body was so shot at that point. I mean, there was one article out of one of the interviews I did. They really sensationalized it. And there were several articles that picked that story up from that NDE interview I did. And I saw this headline in the Daily Mail that said, woman died for 3 days and went to heaven. You don't die for 3 days, really? It made me look ridiculous. I complained and I said, hey, I wasn't dead. And I did, stop. But yeah.
Let's clear that up here. Let's clear that up.
Clear that up. Yeah, no. But I woke up 3 days later. Basically, the overdose had just knocked me out and put me in a, sort of unconscious state for about 3 days. And then I came to, and I was still pretty stoned and staggering around the place. And it took me about a week to get my normal energy back. But during that 3 days, I had a visit home. I felt myself go up and go up to the higher realms, and all of a sudden I am in the I knew it was the angelic realms, and it was very like in the films. It was, whoever writes Hollywood, they are in some way connecting with upstairs, okay? Because it really was. It was white light. It was peaceful. I could hear bells and harps. It was like a massive cathedral, but just full of white light, so bright that it's like you almost need sunglasses, otherwise it'll hurt your eyes. But it doesn't hurt your eyes. It was so bright, and yet I could feel and sense everything, and I could see the beings around me. They weren't just lights. I could see forms of angels around me. I could also see my guides sort of behind my angels, almost like, it's not my fault she's here. We did our best. Don't blame us.
Don't blame us.
Don't blame us. And yeah, these
because of free will.
Yeah,
because of free will.
Free will. Their job was to try and keep me going, and it was really hard. I mean, I had horrific trauma. We don't need to go into too much detail, but it was really, really bad. And in addition to all of that, I got kicked out at 16. I was on the streets. I was a girl, and that's scary. It wasn't good. I'd had enough. I wanted to go home, and my guides were constantly saying to me, "Look, we'll get you through this." And I'm like, "Well, you're not helping. You're not doing much at all." So yeah, in that time I was upstairs, as I call it, they showed me my previous lifetimes. They showed me that I'd chosen this lifetime, including all the bad stuff, including the parents that I'd been born to, who were pretty useless, bless them. And I know they love me in their capacity of love. But it was, I chose them for this reason, okay? And when I asked, and I was having a moan and a groan, that I've had no support, I was badly neglected, blah, blah, blah. And they said, yeah, you chose that. And I said, why on earth would I choose that? And they said, because you've had plenty of lifetimes with amazing community and amazing support. And they showed me a lifetime where I was a nun in a convent with like a big community of hundreds of nuns, where we all looked after each other. They showed me another one where I was a monk, same sort of thing, in a monastery. They showed me dozens of lifetimes, like flashed through all these lifetimes where I was part of a huge family, maybe 10 siblings and mum and dad and grandparents, and they were all supportive of each other. And they said, having the love and support, you've done that, tick, tick, tick. What's the point in coming down for another lifetime to do more of the same? You've got nothing to learn there and nothing to grow there. What you chose, and they said, you chose this. We didn't choose it for you. You chose to have a lifetime with basically zero support and zero love. To say, can you do it on your own? Can you find the love within yourself despite the fact that there's no love around you? And can you find your peace despite all the trauma and drama around you? Easy to find your peace when you're in a peaceful place. Easy to find your love when you're in a loving family. Can you do it without either of those? Can you stand on your own 2 feet and be able to provide for yourself with that independence? I was born on the 9th of September. The 9th of the 9th, right?
Almost.
And I was born in 1963. 63 is another 9. I've got all these 9s running through my chart. And 9 is the number numerologically of nearly there, like almost there. 10 is completion, and we start the new cycle on number 1. I'm at the end of all these lifetimes. So this 9, this is the Hermit energy. The Hermit is the card of Virgo, so I'm a Virgo. And the Hermit is all about being the light in the darkness, shining the light on yourself. In the tarot, the Hermit is always holding a lantern or a lamp of some kind, and there's only enough light to shine on him. And it's saying you're bringing that light into yourself. You're tapping into your own light because there's no light around you. You have to find your own light. So they were explaining all this to me. I was only 21. I understood half of it. I didn't understand all of it at the time. But as the years went by, I understood as I got older and wiser. And they were explaining to me about past lives where I'd been the abuser and now I was being abused. They also showed me ancestral karma, where this rubbish crap had been through many lifetimes of my parents, grandparents, and blah, blah, blah. And that I I'd chosen to not be the sacrificial lamb, but I'd chosen to balance the karma and clear it through all of my ancestors. And that was no mean feat to do that. So basically, at that point, I hadn't mastered any of this. I was like, I can't do this without love and support. And they said, but that's the point of this lifetime. And you will be able to get there. You will be able to do it. But you were learning gradually along the way. And it's very hard to do life without any support. I didn't have any friends. I didn't have any kind of family, no family support. And so I was really dependent and codependent. I had to have a boyfriend. I had to have a partner. That was the only thing I could latch onto. And each time it would backfire. Each time it would make it worse because that wasn't my path. And so I spent a long time constantly waiting for love, looking for love from outside of myself. And that's one of the reasons why me and life really never quite made friends, because it never came. And so finally, at about 55, I kind of went, okay, then I'll stop looking. I'm good as I am. I'm fine. And it doesn't matter that I haven't got a boyfriend, a partner, a lover. It doesn't matter that I've only got a couple of friends in the world. It doesn't matter. I'm okay on my own. I can do this on my own, and I can enjoy life on my own, despite the fact that I haven't got those things. And that's when real acceptance came in. That's when it was, I'm good on my own. I'm okay. I don't need anything else. If it comes, I'll say thank you very much. But I'm no longer looking. And trying to stay open while you're not looking, but just to be completely in acceptance. Now we're talking about the Buddhist way, total acceptance. And that's hard. And it took me 55 years to get there. But I finally got there. And my spiritual team, that's when the channeling really came in. My vibration went whoosh because I was finally not fighting it. And I'd been a spiritual teacher by then for 15 years. And I was meditating. I did some channeling. And I'm highly psychic since I was a kid, and I still am. But it took off in another level once I truly accepted this is what my life is. And they've said to me, that love may or may not come. One of my challenges now is to stay open to it if it wants to. And I'm okay with that. But I haven't been open for the last year because I knew I was moving 200 miles away. And I'm like, well, let's just wait till I've got my home and everything's sorted. And then if it wants to come, I'll open the door and welcome it. But it's not that important because I've got enough love inside me now that I don't need the light from anybody else. And I don't need anybody else to value me, because I didn't value myself. And if I didn't have somebody else value me, then I wasn't valuable. So I understand. And all of these things made me a fabulous therapist. And that might sound arrogant, but I was, because I've been through just about everything everybody else can go through, death, divorce, homelessness, abuse, all sorts of stuff. And I've got no judgment. There's no judgment at all. There is a complete understanding from compassion and love and helping people. And I worked with people as a trauma therapist for 15 years before I hung up my hat and said, I've done enough now. I'm not doing that anymore. And I don't do any trauma therapy anymore. But I still do soul help and guidance and I teach now. I teach through the law of attraction and the I am. But yeah, me and life, we made friends. We made friends in the end. But through that time, through my 20s, those 3 days when I was upstairs, they showed me ever such a lot. And they talked about the future, and they talked about the golden age. And they took me into the Angelic Gardens. And that was very, very special. Beautiful place. There were little bridges over streams. There was a pond, like a lake, with a waterfall coming into it. In the centre of the garden, there was this 3-tiered fountain. I saw all of this really clearly. They were walking with me through the garden, and we'd sit on benches, and they were talking, explaining it to me. And that was 1983 or something like that, 84. And then it was about 20 years later, I found this book called Shed a Little Light on the Spiritual Laws. I can't remember the woman now. And she wrote a series of books, Shed a Little Light on Angels and this and that and the other. And I picked up this book and I read it. And there was this page where she described the angelic realms and this spiritual garden. And it was exactly where I'd been. And I knew it completely. I knew every part of that garden, and I knew what was outside of it because I'd explored all of that area. And when I was about 40, I retrained as a hypnotherapist. And the first time that I went down with a client into a hypnotic trance, I went straight to that place. And I hadn't planned that, just to tell you a little bit about hypnotherapy. Normally, I trained for it. It was supposed to be 18 months. So I did it in 6 months, but I got my diploma and senior level and all the rest of it. And you write a script, you find out what the client needs, and you write a script that's just right for that client. And that's what I was doing through my training. The first time I sat down with a client, and it was still part of my training, sort of further on in the training, I had my script and I start counting her down. And then all of a sudden the script went out the window. I could see clearly where I had to take her. I saw this door, I opened the door, I walked in, and there was this huge woodland, and that wasn't on the script. And all of a sudden I see my guide standing there saying, just go with it. And I'm like, okay then. So I'm saying to her, and in front of you, there's this beautiful woodland. And I'm thinking, oh my God, where am I going here? And when we finished the session and she came back and she had to give me feedback. It was a free session in exchange for I'm training, And I said to her, what was good, what was bad, what worked, what didn't, what can I improve? And the best bit was the woods. And I was like, no way. Because at that time I hated woods. Woods was where I was abused. I didn't like woods. It wasn't a nice place for me, but it was for her. She said that when she's stressed, there's a woodland behind her house and she goes there and talks to the trees and chills. Wow. So the second time I took somebody down, I opened the door and it was that garden, that angelic garden. And that happened 9 times out of 10. I would take my clients in there. And so when I'm reading this book and it's describing it from somebody else, it was such validation of the place that I'd been and what I'd seen and what I'd experienced in that time at that age at 21. But they also said to me that there was this golden age coming, that it was 2032. It wouldn't just happen overnight. It was a gradual process, and that things would appear to get worse, but they weren't. And they were saying, everybody's going to tell you the world's gone to the dogs. It's getting worse. The world's gone to shit. You're going to hear that over and over and over. Don't believe it. These things have always been there. There's been corruption. There has been secrecy. There has been lies. There has been abuse. It's always been there. What's going to happen over this period of the next 50, 60 years, because bear in mind, this was 83, was it's all going to come up to the surface so that it can be reckoned, so that it can be challenged, so that it can be sorted. So you will see financial corruption, political corruption. You will see sexual corruption, power corruption. It's all going to come up. But when everybody tells you the world's getting worse, don't listen to them. This stuff has always been there. It was there 2,000 years ago. Have you read the Bible? You look, you look at what was going on back there. It's still going on now. But now in this energy, we're clearing it. We're fixing it. We're sorting it. So I stayed in this positive energy all through these years. And people will say, oh, this is really bad and that's really bad. And I say, no, it's really good. It's all fine. It's absolutely fine. And they think I've got this Pollyanna, naive, ultra positive, almost toxic positivity. And it's like, you haven't been where I've been. I've heard what they've told me. I trust them absolutely. So, for example, 2008-9, when the financial collapse, my guys are saying to me, oh yeah, this is good. This is all coming up. All this financial corruption, this stuff's gone on for years. They've got away with it for years. And now with it blowing up, and yes, it means hundreds of thousands of people are losing their homes and it's awful. But this will never be allowed to happen again because they're now going to put in all these safeguards, right? And you're going to see that sort of thing happening in the political arena. You're going to see new rules tightening up the way that, all of the underhand, backhanded, all that's going to stop, right? Just trust. And it was the same when COVID came along. I asked them, I talked to them. They gave me the whole story second week of March. And they told me, don't put this on YouTube because they'll shut you down. And I'm like,
Which
okay.
they did to many other
Yeah.
creators.
But they told me exactly what it is. I still don't feel that we're quite in a safe enough place for me to say what they told me, but some of that information is now coming out. All right.
Mm.
So they told me it was deliberate. They told me, it was to depopulate. They told me it was to get rid of some of the old and vulnerable. And, they gave me all the reasons. They said it was dangerous. They told me it was dangerous for about 6 weeks. They told me it was in the air, and they told me not to go out. So I didn't go out. I stayed indoors, and they said, shut the windows, stay inside. Don't go out. We'll tell you when it's safe. And that this is in the air, and the air will clear. It will push through and it will dilute. And after 6 weeks, my spiritual team said, you're good now. You can go out now. All right. And I went out, and everybody's in lockdown. I mean, we were all in lockdown, but I wasn't frightened to sit in my garden. I wasn't frightened to go for a walk. My team was saying to me, don't worry about it. And when the vaccine came, they told me not to take it. And they said, it's not safe and you don't need it anyway. It's bullshit. So I said, okay, I won't take it. And I didn't. And I live in the UK, and we were basically made to take it. And I got to the point after about a year where I said to my team, it's getting really hard to resist this. And they said, that's okay. If you want to take it. We'll just neutralize it. Go into a healing space. Go into the Angelic Garden. Go into a healing space. And I did not want to have it. But we've been in lockdown for more or less 18 months. And that was hard. That was really hard. And it was hard for a lot of people. And then everything opened up. Restaurants, theatres, life. And you were only allowed to go if you had a little piece of paper to say you'd had that jab. And I wanted to go. So I had the jab, and I spent 24 hours doing healing on my body until my angels say, that's good, we've neutralized that now. And then I went. And so, they give me information all the time. So, I talk about getting a parking space, but it's far more than that. I talk to them about everything and anything. Is this the right decision? And sometimes they'll say to me when I'm telling you, you're going to make this one on your own. And I'm like, okay, that's good. No problem. Other times they will give me guidance. And sometimes it's not coming directly from them. It's coming from my intuition, my higher self. It's taken me 9 months to find this house. Well, I found it in April, but I was looking since November, and I looked at dozens and dozens and dozens of houses, and I offered on 2. And each time my team was saying, no. And my instinct was saying, no, it's not the right one. Until finally I was aligned with the right one. I've written all of this into my new book and explained about all of you being aligned with all of the thing that you want. Not part of you wants it and part of you doesn't. That's one of the missing pieces of the manifesting puzzle. And then when I did, I got it. But they will give me guidance. So we're moving into that space now, this beautiful golden age. And then the book came out 2012, which I think is the same author actually as The Shed a Little Light. I can't recall now. And she was talking about 2012 to 2032, that 20-year period. And I've got my angels behind me saying, yep, that's right. Yep, we told you all this in 83. Yep. Yeah. And there will be famine and flood and earthquakes and this, that, and the other. The earth is shifting as well as the people. Everything is shifting. It's not just the people. The whole environment is shifting. So, they've been giving me this inside information for a long time. I'm very blessed.
Yeah. And I'm looking right now at the Richard Dawkins energy vibration chart, and it goes from contracted states of consciousness until expanded up until the Omega ultimate consciousness. And acceptance, which you were talking about, is one of the higher states of consciousness. So I find it really interesting that once you reach that vibrational state of total acceptance, your channeling gifts started coming in more clearly,
Yeah.
and you started connecting more with what you call Eli.
Yeah.
What was that experience like of beginning to open that channel and allowing this information that's coming to you to flood in,
Yeah.
and be open to it?
The first time I channeled was in 2011. I'd been teaching spiritual development circles in person at my home. A dozen people would come and we would explore different topics. And I was in a teaching energy with them when Thoth came through and literally came into my body. And I was aware of it, but I was not there anymore. It was a full-on, full-blown trance channel. And he taught the group for about 20 minutes. And they said to me, your eyes were completely different, your voice, your tone, your accent, everything was different. And I was aware, I wasn't aware of my eyes, but I was aware of my words were different. And that was my first experience of channeling in 2011. And that had come in not long after I started working with the angelic realms, which I hadn't done before. So just sort of a précis of, I worked with the shamanic energy, First Nations, very strong shamanic drumming, earthly, grounded. All of that energy, they told me, was to fix my base chakra, which was completely shot to pieces because of all of the abuse. And I couldn't rise up into the higher chakras until I fixed the base chakra, that grounded, secure. So I spent the first 40 years working in the shamanic energy. And then they handed me over to the angels and said, right, we can move up the chakras now. We fixed that bit. And I don't work with the shamanic energy. And then from the angelic, I moved into more of the Buddhist energy and started training on Reiki. I'm a Reiki master teacher. I did all of that around 2011. And that was the higher vibration, the purer vibration. The shamanic stuff's really important. You need to start with that base ground and then you build on. It's almost like the Maslow hierarchy. You've got to get that bottom bit first, then you can move up the pyramid. And so by 2011, I was moving up into higher consciousness, working on a higher vibration. And yeah, Thoth came through and this first channeling. And then that continued on and off periodically. But it really started to come in about 3 years ago. So I'm very aware of my spiritual team. I talk to them all the time. They give me information and it's like I'm taking dictation. I'm talking, and I do that when I'm doing my readings. But when I'm doing a one-to-one private reading, I don't use the cards at all. I just go into the person's energy and I'm talking to their soul and their higher self directly and getting that information. And I've always had that ability. That intuitive ability to be able to go into your energy with your permission and read what your team want to tell you, your higher self, your guides, your spiritual, your soul, to tell you. That's the way I've worked all my life. But now all of a sudden I'm channeling their words in their energy. And so I was asking them, well, I can feel my team is about 12 or 15 different energies, angels, guides, higher beings of light. I can access higher beings as well. I mean, one of my mantras, I suppose, is maybe the right word. When I start to connect, I always say that I'm connecting to the highest available energy available to me today, because your vibration changes on a day-to-day basis. So when I'm in a very pure energy, I can connect to the 12th dimension and some incredible energy. But mostly I'm working around the 7th or 8th dimension, the angelic realms, some higher beings of light. And they will come down and join my team and give some additional information and wisdom when they want to. So I was doing a lot of channel stuff on my YouTube channel for, inspiring people and giving information. And they were coming through and talking through me. And I always know, because they'll use words I wouldn't use, and they will say sentences I wouldn't say, or I didn't know. So I learn a lot from it as well. And they've kind of eased off on that now. It tends to kind of go back to the way it was, where they just give me the information and then I share the information. I just saw a load of orbs go behind me. I don't know if
I
you
saw
saw
that
that.
as well. I
Yeah,
saw that
because
as
I'm
well.
talking about that. They're here. They're just showing me that, and my nose will go very tickly, like, feathers around me, and I'm kind of doing this all the time. But yeah, they're here, and they sometimes will talk through me. They're clearing my throat chakra now because I think there's something they want to say.
Mm.
Um, but whether it'll just be they'll give me the information like I'm taking dictation, or whether it'll be them talking through me, I don't know. But I asked them, what can I call you? And they said, well, we're your team. We've always been there. And I said, look, Esther Hicks has got Abraham. And, I want to know, I want a name as well. And they said, okay, you can call us Eli. And I said, okay. I said, right, oh, Eli. And they said, but Eli isn't one name. It's an acronym for empowering, loving information. We will only give you empowering, loving information. And I'm like, right, good. And I remember, actually, they're asking me to tell you, back in probably around 2005, when I was working with White Eagle, and he's an incredible energy. He didn't come through very often. He was a busy man, but he came through now and again. And he said to me, you need to discern what you're watching, what you're reading, because there's a lot of misinformation out there in the spiritual realms. I had a huge bookshelf full of spiritual books. And he said, a lot of those are wrong. All right. They're not coming from the light. They're coming from the darkness dressed up as the light. And I'm like, okay, this is right. I'm out of my depth here. Explain. And he took me to the bookcase and he pointed that one, bin. No, don't take it to a charity shop. Don't give it to anybody else. That is coming from the darkness. Put it in the bin. The person who wrote it is not aware of that. They think they're working for the light, but they've been infiltrated. And I'm like, all right then, okay. I didn't know about this stuff and I don't like this at all. I like to stay in the light. And so he said, okay, so I had to clear out a lot of my books and left with a certain amount of what he called truth. And yes, so discernment has always been the thing. And then more recently, they said to me, it's kind of coming back up again because we're doing all this clearing out and we're raising the vibration. As the light raises, the darkness sort of raises too, fear. All right. And so they said, you will always know, and this is a message they want me to give out to your watchers, you will always know where that energy is coming from. If the message creates fear, it is coming from fear and darkness. It is not coming from the light. So anytime you see, and I've seen this over and over and it frustrates me, the UK's best psychic, just fear mongering. And I've seen it all the time, and I see it in other people as well. So I might click on a reading, and as soon as they are fear mongering, be careful. It's like, okay, this isn't coming from the light. I turn it off and I don't watch that again. So, just your channel, I've seen some of your interviews, they're always high vibration, they're always pure, they're always beautiful. There are some fantastic channels there, but just discern and decide, is this creating fear in me, or is this creating empowerment? And yes, forewarned is forearmed. Astrology will do that. Pam Gregory talks about that. This can get a little bit negative. But somebody from the light will say, this can appear to be negative, but they will then say, but it's clearing this, and this. And this is how you work with it. And this is how so it's always about using that to help you, not to create fear. So that's one of the things they want to emphasize at this time. Okay.
What do you feel is the greatest thing that is being cleared right now on the planet that will then allow a flood of light to come in on the other side?
What is hidden? It's all about what is hidden. Because if we think about the energy of enlightenment, it's shining the light on it, enlighten. So it's what's open, what's transparent, what is not, no, they don't want to say real or true. Okay, tell me what you want me to say then, please. Realize and remember that there is only two energies. There is love and fear. There is love and the absence of love, and the absence of love is fear. And so as the light rises and the love rises, then fear will be seen. And so fear is very contagious, but so is love. Laughter is very contagious, and so is panic. So when we see this energy and we feel ourselves getting sucked into it, it's important to just stop and discern, is this helping me? And sometimes to feel that fear is helping you because it's triggering something within you that you can then bring up and to resolve and to heal and to release and come back to love. So imagine it as little layers, like an onion, and some of those layers are fear-based and some of them are love-based. And as we move more into the light, the fear levels, layers start to come up so that you can peel them back, so that you can say, do I still need to be afraid of that? Is that real? Is that even my fear? Or was that my parents, my grandparents, societies? We start to peel it back. And as we peel it back and shine the light onto it and shine the love into it, it dissolves. And so what you end up with is more and more and more light. So the more light that we have, then the more the light will show the darkness. A mud-splattered black coat wouldn't show very much mud, but a mud-splattered white coat would show you all the mud. We're turning the black coat into a white coat, so we're starting to be able to see the mud. It doesn't mean there's more mud than there was before. It just means we can see it now, and that means that we can clean it. And that's what's going on. So allowing the light to shine. The light is love. There is only love. What is not love is an absence of love, and we call that fear or darkness. It is an unknowing. It is ignorance. Ignorance is simply, I don't know. So enlightenment is shining a light on knowledge, on information, and the information comes up, and information gives knowledge, and knowledge gives power. So the power is growing. So we see the love is growing, and love is part of power. So as the love grows, the power grows. The problem that, this is their words, the problem that mankind has had and humankind has had is you have been taught to fear power because you've been suppressed by the powerful for so long. You had no power. You had powerless. You were suppressed by the powerful. So in your energy field and the collective energy field is much fear of power. What is happening is a dissolving, a resolution of that, to begin to understand that power itself is a beautiful thing. It's all about whose hands it is in. And when it is in the hands of love, it is a wonderful, wondrous thing. When it is in the hands of fear and restriction and abuse, it's a dangerous thing. So understand, for 6,000 years, if not up to 12,000 years, many of you have been suppressed and reduced by those in power when you had none. So you fear the power and you resent the power. And the problem is, you see, you are power. So you are fearing yourself and you are resenting yourself. But when you realize that power is beautiful and it is within you and you embrace it, this is where the balance of the scales begins to really come in. And this is the energy you're currently in. Between 2012 and 2032, this rising of the energy, the rising of the power, before your power could rise, the disempowerment needed to reduce enough for your power as a people to come up. And that's what was happening in the first part of this. Through 2000 to 2010 was the abuse of power being seen and being collapsed, which shifted the scales somewhat, still not equal, but shifted the scales somewhat from the big power to come down a little bit. Now that brings your power as peoples up a little bit. And so now we're in this energy through 2000 to 2032 of this power being seen. And the COVID was part of that. It was part of the plan. This was arranged from upstairs. This was meant to happen. And the bad guys had to be the fall guys to actually make it happen. But what it did was, when you were all, as a peoples, stripped away of all your freedoms and powers and went into that helpless, hopeless, restricted zone for up to 2 years, you came out with this stronger light of I know my power and I'm never giving it up again. I know my freedom and I know the importance of my freedom, because you see, so many of you have taken your freedom for granted for so long. It has been many years, hundreds of years for some of you, since you've been in slavery. Slavery has been part of this planet for thousands of years. It has only been dissolving over the last few hundred years. And so many of you are still associated with that slavery. That needed to be, I didn't know this, by the way, they're telling me this now. Okay. So that needed to be part of the pandemic results on the collective, was to realize you're no longer slaves, you have freedom. And you came out of that grasping your freedom for the first time in hundreds of years, saying, this is my freedom, I will not let go. That boosted your power, that boosted your light. You start to make new choices. Many of you moved out of cities, you relocated your jobs, your lives, your worlds, you reprioritized into more well-being. That is rising. It's all rising, you see. It's a knock-on effect. So over this year and next year, there is more of this getting into your power, getting comfortable with your power, being one with your power. No longer seeing power as something outside of yourself, but inside of yourself. This is why we told Julie to write so much about power in her books, showing you to get comfy with your power, to get good with your power. And your power is your heart. So when you bring that power into your heart and into that love, you are a force of pure, loving power into the world, into the collective, into the multiverses. You are coming up, equalizing yourself at last. And this will continue to happen. And it will continue over the next 300-400 years. It will take about 600 years to fully get you where you want to be. But this big, massive shift that's happening now that we're so excited about for you is that turning point. Everything shifting into more equality. And each of you will say, we're not equal yet. No, we would agree, you're not. You're not equal yet. But you are a lot more equal now than you were even 50 years ago. And so imagine where you will be in another 50 years. And then imagine where you will be in 500 or 600 years. That is when all of you will be in that enlightenment. But you are each a work in progress, and you are each at different stages on your path. And some of you are 80% fear, and some of you are 50% fear, and some of you are 5% fear. And until you have released all fear, can you truly know enlightenment? But this planet that you all live on is a fear-based planet that has absorbed fear for thousands of years, and it will take more years to dissolve that fear. But the more of you that step into the light and project the light, project your power, project your love, the more that fear dissolves. And if you imagine the impact of 3 people with their light shining it into the darkness, the fear, the absence of light, and the impact that has. Now imagine those 3 are influencing 3 others, and 9, and then 81, and times by the power of 3, times by the power of 3. This is where you're at now. And so as we look down onto the planet and we look at the light, and let us use the example of what you call lumens of brightness. It would have been a 50 watt, and now it is a 500 watt. And it will not be very long before it's a 5,000 watt, because it is growing and spreading. And it will be a 5,000 watt by the end of this year. And by next year, it will be a 50,000 watt. It's times 10. The power is increasing. And so you see, the more that the light is going on, the more we see all those splatters of mud, the more we can clean them up. And so what you will see, and you will hear it every week on your news, so-and-so's been arrested for corruption, and so-and-so has died, and this political figure has been removed, and that dictatorship has collapsed. Oh, there is a revolution going on there, because the people are taking their power and saying no more. And this is what we want. Now, the governments would say that those people taking their power are terrorists. It is all about perspective. The people will say we are freeing ourselves. It is all about which way you see it. So we would suggest try not to be on anybody's side, because that is division. See instead that everybody is moving into their own empowerment and their own light. And that is where you are at the most exciting time in your history since Lemuria 25,000 years ago. You nearly got there with Atlantis 12,000 years ago, and it all went because you weren't quite ready. But you learned those lessons and you revisited them. And that's where you are now, revisiting them. And I know I can hear your question about what help is coming from upstairs. And yes, you will be seeing help in the form of aliens, us. It is us. We come, we help, we see you, we support you. We are there. We're always there. But we can't come yet, but we're coming soon. We're always there. But to be seen as you would know to be seen. Coming soon.
What has been most understood about our ancient past and our true origins of humanity?
This beginning to come out more and more as well. For you know, you are not pure human race. You are mongrels, all of you. You are a mixture of many beings from other worlds, other planets, other dimensions. This is a wondrous planet. It is one of the most special planets in the universe. And many beings have visited this planet over many, many hundreds of thousands of years. And many have settled here. And many have mated with your peoples. You are a watered down version of gods, what you would call, the Incas would call the gods, the tall beings, the golden beings. This is who you truly are. It's who you truly, that would be your great, 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 great grandfather. That would be who you truly are. So, yes, all of that is coming to light. The ancient cities under the oceans, under the ice, all of what has been hidden under the surface of thousands of years of evolution, and beginning to see your own heritage. Your own heritage. You see, very few of you have only had lifetimes on Earth. Most of you have been travelers. You have been galactic travelers, you know? And so have we. We've come from many different places, many different multiverses, many different dimensions. But it's also this confusion you have over time, you know, that the past, the present, the future. Some of you will have heard there is only now and not really understand it, but to understand that everything is coexisting at the same time. So imagining, like your wonderful film, Parallel Lines, Parallel Doors, or that Gwyneth Paltrow film, beautiful. If we go through this door, we get this outcome. If we go through this door, we get that outcome. But you see, your soul can be living up to 20 lifetimes at the same time, going through those different doors, living those different outcomes, and then sharing that knowledge with the other parts of itself. So when you have a desire that says, I want this, another part of your soul may already be living that. And it's the bleed through, we would call energetic bleed through, that you are picking up. And so that's just your own soul living multi dimensions at the same time, simultaneously. But you see, you are all one. And so you have the bleed through from many other people as well. So you pick up on their fears and their traumas and their joys and their light and ours. So you've heard of the law of attraction. You know that what you focus on, what you give your attention to, grows and expands. So give your attention to the light, to the love, to your power, to your worth, to your divinity, and it's that which will grow. Give your attention to your own enlightenment, and it will grow.
If it's true that we only use up to 3 to 5% of our brain's capacity, what are we missing out on the other 95% of reality and consciousness?
Well, it's true and it's not true. It is true in your waking busy time, in your waking, let's say your day-to-day 12 hours of busyness, you are using 3% would be generous of your brain. However, when you are meditating, When you are relaxing, you are immediately tapping into more access. So most of you are running at between 3 and 5%. You're quite right. However, that is within your within your waking time, busy time, busy time. When you are within nature, when you are meditating, when you are relaxing, when you are experiencing out of body, lifting into the higher realms, you are using far more of your brain. You might say that the experiences that you have from the other realms are within your imagination. You see, it is not. You are using and accessing other parts of your brain that have access to those other dimensions and times. You are slipping through a portal of your limited 3 to 5% into 20, 21, 2, 3. 23% of your brain is what you are actually accessing. During your day-to-day busy life, 2-3%. Quiet time, 5-6%. When you are lifting into the higher realms in your meditations, some of you need help with that, with your substances to go and experience other realms. You don't need to. It's not very good for your brain, but we don't judge it. If that's the easiest way for you to do it, that's do it. But you are stepping into that other 20% of your brain to access that. So you see, even we are not running on 100% capacity of what we have. We are running on 40 to 50% within our group. You are running on, be generous with yourself, around 20 to 23% when you are in your higher mind. You are accessing this inner knowledge, outer knowledge, awareness, intuition, telepathy. Oh yes, indeed, you do have telepathy. Many of you are already accessing, you all have access to it. Many of you already are accessing it, as Julie is now talking to us. So you start to see that your brain is magnificent. Your universe resides within you, within your brain, within that extra capacity, and start practicing. Set the intention, because your will is incredibly powerful. When you choose to access all that you are, all that you can be, you will access it. What holds you back is your fear. But what will I see? What will I experience? How will I be when I come back? Will I be satisfied when I come back to my 3% of my brain if I've just experienced 23% of my brain? But we would say, let go of that fear, because you can't all walk around on cloud 9 all of the time. Just look at the state of you when you fall in love. It makes different chemistry in your brain. Yes, you go into a starry-eyed, high vibration. I'm in love with life. I'm in love with this person. You see, you can access that anytime. It is simply that when you fall in love, it pushes through and opens up the heart energy, the heart space. And you can sense the other person, and you can sense what they're thinking and feeling, and you can send telepathic messages to each other. You can have telepathic sex. You can do all sorts of things, and you do.
Sign me up.
You do all of this. And then you say, it was my imagination. No, it wasn't. It was energy moving through frequency. You all can do this. And that's what you're opening up to more and more. And the more your vibration raises, the more you will be able to do this. Don't fear what you can explore. And don't fear how limited will I be when I come back. Because how would it be to try to go to your job on that cloud 9 high, I love everybody? It wouldn't work in your job. So we need to compartmentalize to a certain degree. But if you can try and keep the heart center open a little bit, that will help you in all of your day-to-day life. But walking around on cloud 9 is not practical or grounded, which is why this earth is so grounded. So yes, lift up, go into those realms, bring back that knowledge, bring back that light, bring back that positivity, because your positivity can be that pay it forward to other people to help dissolve so much fear. And start getting excited about the new world rather than fearing it. Get excited about AI and technology and advancement rather than fearing it. Do you know, we can remember the fear that happened when Edison created his light bulb. The fear of, it'll burn my house down. I'm not having electricity put into my house. I don't trust it. That went on for decades until a few brave people stepped forward and said, I'll risk it. And then everybody followed like little sheep. So start allowing yourself to say, I'll risk it. We're in a different time. New technology, new energy, new heart, new light, new openness. Trust.
Are we also catching glimpses of older, more advanced technology that is resurfacing and reemerging in the world right now?
Oh, yes. A lot of it was closed down because it wasn't safe. Well, let's just quantify. It was safe. It wasn't safe in the wrong hands. And so you were not ready. Some people, even in Atlantis, became power hungry. And this is why you fear power. That what happens if I abuse it? And some people did because they forgot their oneness. They forgot who they were. And so some of those technologies were closed down, removed access. We removed access. Some of them we removed from the planet. We literally beamed them up and removed them from the planet. Others we buried and hid. And you will discover it by accident. Of course, there are no accidents, but you will discover it when you're ready to discover it. And you have been discovering for many years. You've been discovering since the 80s very actively. It just hasn't hit the media, but it has been happening behind the scenes. And of course, you all know about Area 50, whatever it was. You all know about that, all right? But that was a new thing. That was a crash landing. It shouldn't have happened. But if you're talking about the cities beneath the ice, cities beneath the sands, all of that will start to become revealed as your technology increases and you start to have the what we would call X-ray ability to see beneath the surface, which you have in medicine. That's going to improve as well. There will be far more advances in medicine and health. You see, one of the biggest, and you know this, and we know this, one of the biggest abuses of power is within your pharmaceutical industry, which completely rule the medical industry. And it should be the other way around, and it's not. That will correct itself, but it will take a little bit of time. We're working on it, and many others are working on it, but that will correct itself. But yes, there are technologies that will start to be able to show you. So some of the satellites you have in space now, far too many up there, by the way, many of those satellites are already being able to send you images from beneath the surface and saying, oh, we can see a city beneath that ocean. And oh, we can see ruins beneath those sands in that desert, because it didn't always used to be a desert. You will start to see more of that. And there will be technologies there for you to retrieve. And you will wonder, how on earth was this made when it was 3,000, 10,000 years old? Like you do now with some of the crystal skulls that have been discovered in Peru and in different places. Those were made by us a long time ago. We had the technology, and you will have it again when you're ready.
So you have inhabited the earth plane in a physical form prior?
Yes. Yes, we visited. Oh, let me see. We have been here many times. We were part of the original settlement. I'm asking how long ago. Lemuria was not the first time. Atlantis was not the first time. It goes back much, much, much further than that. Much further than that. There was what you call the Garden of Eden was the way that it was when we first came. So we would say, difficult for us to count in your Earth years, but at least 100,000 years, at least. And it was Garden of Eden. And then we went and settled on other planets and allowed your Earth to evolve without our influence and just allowing it to become what it wanted to become. You will find civilizations over the next 30 years that are more than 50,000 years old. And those will be some of the civilizations that we were part of. You see, at the moment, your history says that it only goes back, your Earth goes back X amount of years. They're far, far out. It went far, far further back than that. And we were part of that. And we've been traveling the galaxy a long, long time. A long, long time. We've had existences on your Earth plane, many different lifetimes, in many different situations, until, as each of you will do, evolve through enough lifetimes to no longer, we would say, not necessarily enlightened, be enlightened, but enlightened enough that Earth no longer can help you grow. But in fact, Earth will help you to shrivel and shrink. So you grow and grow and grow, and then you outgrow it and you become stale and you start to shrivel. And this is what happens to those who finished on the Earth School. They don't want to stay and shrivel. They go elsewhere and continue to grow and evolve. And many of us become your guides, become your helpers, because we've been there, we've been earthly, we've known love, we've known loss, we've known fear, famine, war, slavery. We know. We understand and we help you and we do our best, but we're not miracle workers and you have free will. And so when you're ready, you ask us for help and we give it. And when you don't want it, we step back. And sometimes we step back and wring our hands and say, oh dear, but we will be there to pick up the pieces afterwards. So there is also a huge amount accessible to you that you're not choosing. You see, most of you are aware of you have an angel or two, and you have a guide or two, and you have some loved ones, a few of your ancestors as part of your spiritual team, and you think that's where it stops. It doesn't stop. There is no stop. It goes out and out and out. So where does it stop? As big as the universe. The universe doesn't stop. You can access God directly. You can access any of the creators of the universe directly. You can access any of your future selves directly. You can say, I want to talk to future me who is enlightened. And that future you will immediately be there to help you. You can talk to past you from 100 lifetimes ago. And you will learn what it was like and what changed to evolve you into who you are now. So be open. But because of your free will, which you chose, know that none of that help is accessible to you without you asking for it. It's not allowed. It crosses the boundary of free will interference. And so when you're ready for help, ask. When you're ready for help with medical procedures, with AI, with technology, with insight awareness, ask. Your answers will find you once you ask. You would think you find the answers. No, the answers will find you because you commanded it to be so. Do you see?
And one of the last things that I would love to open the space for is, you mentioned that in the next 15 to 18 years, there will be a portal that will open up to other worlds. How can we best prepare for that moment where we'll begin to have access to other dimensions and other worlds?
You see, that is true, but that portal is already there. It's always been there. It is the timing that you discuss is when you will be a vibrational match to be able to see it and experience it. It could happen in an instant. And for some people, they will access it before that time. But that portal is always there. And so, what will change between now and then? Everything is one, as you know. Everything needs to rise its vibration into love, and that takes time. And so it's seeing that you are responsible for you and only you. So what are you doing to raise your vibration? So you take responsibility for you and you take charge of you in a mission, a goal to, I choose to access the portals into greater knowledge. And so thank you for helping me to raise my vibration enough to be able to do this. When each individual does that, not only are they raising their own vibration, but their light is shining into the collective, raising the vibration of the collective. That in turn raises the vibration of the planet, of Gaia itself. So everything rises. Currently, 280. Okay, thank you. Currently, there are 280 portals available around the Earth. Now, some of these portals have not come all the way down to Earth. They are above the Earth in your space, if you like. Some are further down through your atmosphere, and some of them are only just above the ground, but they are invisible to the 3D eye. So for you to see them, you need to move into 4D and 5D, which is what you're in the process of. So over this next 4 or 5 decades, each of you is moving further towards that higher vibration, which comes from the heart. So you're lifting into this higher chakra as the heart opens more. Imagine the heart a little bit the way you described your brain, that you use 2 to 3% or 5%, and I'm saying 23% on a good day. The heart is the same. The heart is capable of unlimited love. Those of you who have spent time in the higher realms in meditation or in an NDE will have experienced love like you have never experienced on your planet. It is what is described as pure bliss. Some of you have experienced this. That is what the heart is capable of while you are still alive in this 3D body. So how much of your heart are you actually using? You see, when you fall in love, the heart opens up so much more. You access so much more love, so much more of your own love. And you think that you're feeling this because of the other. You are not. They are showing you yourself, and your heart opens. But you see, this shift over the next 4 or 5 decades is to open that heart more and more and more. And the purity that comes through from this unconditional love is what raises that vibration in a woof so easily. You see? And so if you imagine that some technology is close to you because you might use it for destruction, that's not the heart. That's fear. That's control. That's not the heart and love and loving empowerment. That's using power to destroy. So you won't see it. But as the heart opens, your power opens from a place of love. You begin to see the magnificence of your power. Then you see the portals. And those portals will be all the way around the earth. So just the same as you're aware that all your pyramids are all the way around the earth, they're not just in Egypt, they are around because they anchor the energy of the universe. We built them, we designed them, we know what needed to be done. So the portals are similar. They will be in key places, and a lot of them will be linked with the past key places. So Aylesbury, Stonehenge, the pyramids all over the world. Easter Island is a key, pivotal part, and was it really? They're saying it was part of Atlantis. Easter Island was part of Atlantis. I did not know that. Thank you. Okay. So these are key places that the portals will be. Machu Picchu. They're showing me somewhere further down South America, Argentina, or somewhere right down the bottom of South America. There's some there as well. Okay, now they're showing me the poles, but it's not on the pole. It's off kilter, off pole. Okay, I'm not a geologist. But it's not north and south, it's kind of there, but it's cold and there's ice up there. Okay, there's more there. Those ones up and near the poles are going to be the first ones that you're going to see, because the light, the light and the air is so pure there, because the pollution from the earth is not, it is up there, but it's not as strong. So the air is purer. And so you will start to see the shimmering outline of these portals within the next decade. Mm.
So we can walk through these portals, or what is their higher purpose?
You don't walk through. There's nothing to walk through. You step into. As you step into what you see as a portal, you are stepping into a different realm, and you are there in an instant, and you will have access to the worlds, all other worlds, including time travel. Because you see, there is no time, there's only now. So your mind, your will, your power, you see, this is why all the power has to come up, the will has to come up, the love has to come, it's got to come up first. Because as you step into the portal, the power of your mind and your will say, I choose to experience 1853 in Chicago, whatever it is you want, and you will be that. You see, because there is only now. Your mind will dictate from your place of willpower where you want to go. So if you want to be with the gods of Olympus, we love that story, but it's not far off the truth. Pretty close. But you see, you are the gods, but you don't get it yet. You will. You will. You are already the gods. You're already the masters. You see, we like the image of the Olympian gods, because they were 10 times the size of the humans. But it was like that when we first came. You see, you understand, if you were to go back 300 or 400 years in your earth, your peoples were up to 6 inches shorter than they are now. You have grown at least 6 inches in the last 300 or 400 years. So imagine where we were 100,000 years ago, a lot bigger. We've grown and grown and grown. And you're now growing. Okay? So in another few hundred years, you're going to be, average height will be more like 7 foot than 6 foot. It will continue to evolve. And so you see, imagine history in reverse, that it starts to make a little more sense. Difficulty is that all of your history books and geology and all of this are based on very limited knowledge of what you've had access to. A little bit like only a few hundred years ago, before Christopher Columbus went to America, that they didn't know those worlds existed. Everything was very small. They didn't know there was they thought they'd sail off the end of the world. All of that evolution just in 600 years. Imagine where you'll be in another 600 years. Look at the way it's speeding up. You see? So it's a little bit, all your history books are based on, we only know this bit. We only just figured out that the planets go around the sun, not the sun around us. We've only just figured out you don't fall off the end of the world if you keep sailing. You start to begin to evolve, and that challenges, just like Darwin's theory challenged, just like Magellan. You know, a lot of these people were ridiculed and imprisoned because they didn't go with a narrative. Right? So we've got to go through breaking that narrative. And that's what we're doing. And we're helping you, breaking the narrative. So know the earth is not only 6,000 or 10,000 years old, and in terms of civilizations, and know this and know that, and challenges the experts, because they're not. They're expert within the limited knowledge they have, but that knowledge is opening. So the portals will show you so much more, but you need to be in a higher vibrational state to get there. They're already there, but when you are ready, so you can practice. When those of you that meditate, and you meditate from the heart in a pure space, ask to be shown the portals, ask to be shown where you can go. And Julie goes up to the angelic realms whenever she wants to, when her vibration is high enough, when she's in a high state. Other times she can't access it because she's tired or she's grumpy. You've got to be in a high vibration to access the higher realms. Same with the portals. Okay. You also want to take some protection with you. You see, and your mind is your protection. You see, as you are now, you might say, well, we don't know what we're walking into, a new world. We better have arms, take some guns, take some knives. We don't know what we're going to get into. See, this is why you're not ready. When you are in a high enough vibration, you realize your mind is your protection. It shields you. You are shielded and protected. You can explore. But what we would suggest you access first are higher vibrational beings, because you will learn more from them. All right?
Eli, very exciting times. Thank you so much for this empowering, loving information, and bringing Julie gently back in. That was really powerful.
You're welcome. Yeah. Yeah, it's the way they talk now. They just start talking and I just say their words. I didn't know half of them. I'm like, really? Oh, okay then, all right.
Came out of nowhere. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. So I know when I was, doing channeling before, it would, be very kind of different the way I spoke. Now it just comes through because my vibration is changing and raising as well. I've done a lot of healing myself this year. There's been a lot of challenges for me about further limitations that came up. And as I cleared those, it triggered stuff that I had to clear. So, for example, with my home, I had a budget set. I didn't want to go over. And I couldn't find a house within that budget. And I was using all my tips and tricks to find the right house and manifest it. And my inner being was saying, you're looking in the wrong place. And in the end, I'd surrendered and said, show me then. And they showed me an extra £100,000 on my budget. And I don't want that much money. That's too much. I don't want a mortgage that big. I'm 60 years old. I'm 61 on Monday. I don't want a mortgage like that. That's too scary. And so they said, you're in the fear. And I went, oh God, I am, aren't I? Right, now let's sort that out. Right, okay. And I had to release a lot of beliefs around debt. I don't like debt. And, that it's okay, that it's safe. It took me ages. And then as soon as I did, I was like, okay, show me. And they brought me the house like that. So, and that's the house I'm buying. And I've had to work through those limitations of being scared of taking on that much debt to say it's fine. And the more I said it's fine, the more income has just flowed in towards me. It's when we let go of the gates of abundance are open. Don't fear it. Allow it. It comes. And this is all the information. I wrote that book, this From Hoping to Having, Wealth and Success, in 12 days.
12 days.
Yeah. And I wrote it at the beginning of July. I think it was the 4th of July. They said, we want you to write the sequel. And I was offered that big mortgage first week of April. And by the second week of April, I'd agreed to spend a third more than I was going to spend. And then I spent the next 3 months kind of letting go of all the fear around all of that until I was in a really good place and comfortable with it. And they said, good, because that's where you need to be for everything to flow. And we want you to write the sequel. And that's when I started writing the sequel. Yeah, 12 days later, it's done. And then another month, 6 weeks of editing. And then here we are, early September, and it's out. It's like, okay. But yes, it's been part of that healing and releasing and clearing the layers of the onion. I mean, my income has been fantastic for the last 5 years, going up and up and up. But taking on that much debt frightened the hell out of me. And so I had to acknowledge that, even as a law of attraction teacher, I'm scared of that much money. So I needed to work through that and release it. That showed me all other bits. Right, more missing pieces of the manifesting puzzle. We'll fill them in. And yes, that's what we're doing. And
how do you let go of that fear?
They kept giving me this one line over and over and over. The other side of fear is abundance. The other side of fear is abundance. Whether it's fear of love, a relationship, a job, whatever it is, whatever that fear is, the other side of fear is abundance. And so it's understanding that we have this incredibly abundant universe and abundant life. And the only thing between us and it is a big wall of fear. And once we get rid of that wall, we can literally step into our most phenomenal life, heaven on earth, within our highest good and within our soul contract. And that's part of it. Like my contract was to learn that self-sufficiency, self-love, independence. I'm there now, and I may or may not end up in a beautiful, loving relationship. I'm good either way because I love myself enough that it doesn't matter. But some people are on a soul contract to continue their struggle financially through their life in order to pay back some previous karma of abusing money or whatever. And it's to understand that because of free will, we can choose to override any contract at any time. I'm cancelling that soul contract. I choose abundance. We can do it. But we need to know how. We need to know we can. Because that abundance is available. Financially, yes. But also health, energy, happiness, in every way. Yeah, we deserve it. It's time. We've spent, according to Eli, we have spent about 12,000 years in servitude. This is the time now we spend and set into mastery. That's the difference. That's what we're in. And our job, me and you and people like us, is to show people the way, to be the leaders, to say, follow me, I'll show you how to get to mastery. But we've got to figure it out ourselves first before we can lead people there. I'm not saying I'm all the way there. I'm a work in progress like we all are. But I have understood so much over my life, and particularly over the last 5 years since me and life made really good friends, best friends now.
And speaking of mastery, let's bring in our main man, Jesus, because I know you've worked with him a lot. And one of the last things I wanted to touch on with you in this particular transmission is, what has Jesus helped you understand about healing in order to bring more of that abundance and create your reality?
It's that we can heal anything. The power of healing is coming from love. That's it. We've overcomplicated it. So we need to understand that a body that is in harmony and in power and in freedom is in balance, is a well body, all right, and a well mind. Whether we're talking physical, mental, or emotional healing, a body that is at peace will be in a healthy state of being. It is stress that causes discourse and imbalance, right? And stress is created from limited thinking, beliefs, anxieties, worries, fears, all limitations, all of that. That's what puts the body out of kilter. We were designed to live until at least 120 to 180 years old. And that was the way we were designed to be. So if we eat the right stuff and we are happy and content and safe and free, and our mind is unlimited, then we can do that. But that's not the way most people live. We eat the wrong stuff. We live in a society with polluted air. We are working jobs where we're stressed and tired. We're in relationships where we feel responsible for other people's happiness and well-being, and we're not. We feel responsible for our family, our society. We live under this huge pressure, and that pressure energetically is squashing us. So if we imagine our cells of our body being squashed energetically by this pressure until that cell becomes misshapen, and now that cell is ill, and so it starts to create problems in the body. So this is the way that they're telling me to tell you this now, but I've known this for a long time. Jesus showed me this, and he showed me the mind and the fear and the black fear in the mind, which creates illness mentally. I was definitely mentally unwell for a long time. There wasn't just one suicide attempt, there were many. I couldn't cope with life at all. I was mentally unwell. My mind had been so squashed. And emotions as well. When you are constantly ridiculed or bullied or put in fear or put in stress, so all of these damage the body. But we also need to understand, and I'm not a doctor, obviously, but Louise Hay and other healers have said, and doctors say, I believe, that no part of the body is older than 3 years old, that every single cell in our body is replaced within a few weeks, a few months, or a couple of years. So we're never more than, let's say, 3 years old. So I'm 3 right now. Right? I might have hair down to my backside, and hair grows 6 inches a year. And so if I've got hair down there, my hair's 15 years old. But the cells in my body are never more than 3. They die. New cells are born. They die. New cells are born. We're right. So why does illness perpetuate down to the next generation of cells? Because it's squashed and suppressed too. So it just keeps going on and on and on. So Jesus was saying to me when I was 9, if you can take that pressure off, lift that pressure out, the cells, if they can, if they're not too damaged from being squashed, can puff themselves back up again and restore. If they are too damaged to do that, just wait for those generation of cells to die off, and the next generation of cells will be born clean and puffed up, and you'll be fine, and you can restore anything. So you use the energy of love to neutralize all that pressure and all that negativity, because love heals everything. And you can't release it until you love it fully. And loving fully means accepting, understanding, in compassion, right? So trauma, for example, you can't just put love into it and trauma goes. You have to understand it. You have to accept it, take responsibility for it, process it, then it'll go. So I did this with myself. I've talked about this in other interviews. I was due for a full hysterectomy to take the whole lot out because I had so many physical gynecological problems because of 2 decades of abuse. And they were taking the whole lot. And my guides came in and said, you can heal this. And I said, how? And they said, you have to release the trauma. And so they worked with me for the evening, and I had my hands on me and they had their hands on me, and I was fully accepting every memory, every single memory of trauma and abuse all the way through my body and my being. And I released one by one, and the energy came out of me, and I felt it come out of me. And a few days later, I had my first normal monthly cycle of my life, and I was able to cancel that operation. I never had it. I'm still fully intact because I healed the cause of the illness, which was the trauma. So trauma and stress create most illness. Then in addition, it's what you're eating, what you're drinking, what you're exposed to. So we can look at all of that. So basically, it's all well and good to say, yes, the body can fully heal, but you need to take away the cause. It's like saying to an alcoholic, well, we'll give you a new liver, but you carry on drinking. Well, what's the point in that? You've got to cut out the cause. So the stress and the trauma is the cause. Cut that out. Then we work on the healing. And we want to put the body into a restorative state. So we don't want to feed it poison. We know there are certain things that we consume that the body treats as poison. Whether we like it or not, alcohol is poisonous on the body. We know that cigarettes are. We know that certain drugs are. We know that certain medications do more side effects than they do about the actual thing they're trying to cure. We need to look at sugar. We need to look at all of the E numbers and the preservatives. All of this is toxic on the body. But when you remove all of that and you go into clean eating, clean living, remove the stress, put yourself in a situation of being at ease, and you focus on the body and the cells in the body restoring, your body will come back into balance. It will. I've seen it happen over and over. You know, in that 15 years I was working with thousands of clients with trauma. I worked with many, many people with significant allergies, with chronic fatigue, with fibromyalgia. And these were serious cases. And every single one of them, within 6 to 12 months, was completely healed. And all we did was work on their mind, their trauma, and their energy, and their body restored. And it will do. Yeah. But when we're out of balance, it goes off as well. So I live in this rental. I've been in for a year today actually. And I've had allergies for the whole year I've been here. And I've done everything to heal them. And my team said to me, until you get out of here, it's not going to happen because you don't want to be here. And so I've tried to walk into alignment. I'm aligned. This is where I am. I need to be patient. But my heart is 200 miles away, and that's where I want to be. And so I've watched my allergies get worse and worse. And I've tried, and in the end, I just went, okay, I'll just go and take a load of antihistamines. And I'll wait till I move. But, basically, that's just a minor thing. It's inconvenient for me, but I'm not ill. It's just an inconvenience. But whenever I've been living where I want to live and I've been in my power and I felt free and I felt content, my health has been absolutely perfect. All right. So we can all heal, but it's a combination. Healing energy, we're all energy, love, acceptance, and balancing the environment and what you're putting into your body. We don't treat our body like a temple. We take it for granted. Right, but actually your body's a healing machine if you treat it properly. Yeah.
And honoring where our heart is, because you could say, like, even if you had the most acceptance that the rental is where you were at and your acceptance, your desire, your heart's desire was somewhere else. So it creates a disharmony right
I
there.
chose this. It's a wonderful, beautiful house, and it's in a country manor, and it's surrounded by 55 acres of parkland and grass, and I have not stopped streaming with my nose. I've never had an issue with grass before anywhere I've lived, but here I am. So I don't want to be here. And that's what my body's saying. So yeah, sometimes it doesn't matter how wise we are, how amazing we are. We're still human. And they assure me that once I move back to where I want to be, that it will improve significantly. But yeah, it was part of my soul contract to come back to this area. This is where I was born, and so that's triggered some of the old trauma that I had when I was growing up. I moved away. I was living in England for 30 odd years, and I came back 3 years ago, and chose to support my elderly parents, even though they'd never supported me. So there was challenges in that. And that was something I needed to do on a soul level. It's like you've spent your entire 80 years being who you are and being dreadful parents, but I'm going to be the best daughter I can in your last few years. And so that was a challenge. I hate it here. I want to go home. I want to go back to England. And now I'm going. But I wanted to go a year ago, and Spirit said, no, you've not finished yet. And I had to do another year, and it's felt like a year. It's felt like I had to do this year. But apparently there's rewards for me, and they said that. And I never imagined it would be me buying my daughter's house, which is what I'm buying. She bought this 5 years ago, and I said to her, in my dreams, would I ever have a house like that? It's stunning. And I'm buying it.
So cool. And the next conversation we have will be in the new house.
It'll be in the new house. Yeah.
And also, we end every show with a segment called the Final Trio, which are just, little rapid fire questions we ask at the end. Before that, I would love to send people to connect with your work. Actually, before that, comment below and tell Julie happy birthday, because we're recording this 3 days before your birthday. So I hope you have a beautiful birthday going into now officially the 6th floor, and just all the blessings going your way and more expansion in your life, and more impact that you're already doing. So
Thank you.
I'm really happy to just connect with you on this level. And where would you send people to further connect with you and your work and your offerings and anything that you have going on right now?
There's my website, juliepooleonline.com, and there's my YouTube channel, Julie Poole, and I've got a second YouTube channel, Manifesting 101 with Julie Poole. But all the links for my channels, my YouTube channels, are on my website anyway. So it's Julie Poole with an E, Poole, online.com. I'm not currently taking private sessions, focusing on my YouTube channel and my books. But I will be offering some kind of events or teaching events or something coming up after I've moved and settled. But yeah, you will find out all about me on there. And thank you for having me, and thank you for this opportunity.
Of course, always welcome. And for the final trio, the first two are personalized to you, and the last one we ask at the end of every show. The first one I had is, what is the missing key to opening the doorway to more abundance in our lives?
Power. You need to know your power. You're always manifesting and creating, but when you manifest from a place of disempowerment, you manifest more things you don't want. When you step in your power, you command. You don't request, you don't ask, you command from that place of I am, I deserve, this is my divine right. Know your power. Everything comes from there.
Yeah, that was a huge message that Eli came through with, especially speaking upon what the pandemic's true role was to raise our power and raise our frequency. So good to nail the head on that. So awesome. And the second question, I really wanted to honor the legendary Julie Poole's tarot card readings, and maybe we can pull a card for everyone that is tuning in, a message for everyone that will empower them to live their greatest life and to live their greatest year yet going into 2025.
All right. So you want me to pull a tarot? You want a tarot card particularly, or any oracle?
Whichever one that you feel will resonate the most right now.
Okay. Yeah, it's going to have to be a tarot because you said tarot. We're going to use one of the tarot dreams. Marchetti. Okay. I
Magician.
I love it. The Magician is, to me, my favorite card in the deck. It's the most powerful. It is about your alchemy, your ability to create magic, that you have all the tools in your toolkit that you need to be able to manifest and create anything that you want, because you're the magician. You are the I am. You are the magic, and you can create. I love the fact that I've literally got 20 decks sitting here, that I picked this deck and this card. So the Magician is just phenomenal. This is your magic. This is your I am. This is your creative power. You have the power to create the life that you want, to create heaven here on earth, to create your greatest dreams, to live your most joyous life. When you step in your power from your heart, from your truth, from the real, vulnerable, authentic you, you can create anything. I promise you.
Why is it one of your favorite cards, the Magician?
Because it's power and because it's creating. So if you don't like something, when you're in the magic, when you're in your magician power, you say, this doesn't work for me. I'm going to change it. I'm going to alchemize it. I'm going to transform it. So what is right for me? Because we're always evolving. We're always changing. Life is evolving. And so we get stuck in a routine, or we get stuck in a situation that might have been good for us is not good for us anymore. We've outgrown, or we're stale now. Or simply it's wonderful, but we want more because we've evolved and we're bigger and we want bigger, better, brighter. So this isn't greed, and it isn't a lack of gratitude. It's simply saying I've evolved and I need something that matches who I am now. So the Magician is the magic to alchemize, to transform, transcend, transmute, to create something out of nothing, or to magic something away and bring something in. It's basically saying you are the architect of your own kingdom. What do you want to make? And that's why I love it. Because I was dealt lemons and I made lemonade, and anybody can. You just got to believe it. So when you know you're the magician, you have that power within you. And if your life is already good, just imagine how phenomenal it could be. My life was terrible, and I made something magical. So if you started from an even better point, just imagine what you can make. You see? Get in your magician power. Make magic.
There's no law of attraction without magic. So
Absolutely.
beautiful.
Absolutely.
We ask at the end of every show a question we call the time capsule question, which requires us to travel out a little bit into the future, around 15 to 20 years down the line. I chose out those time frames because I believe that that is going to be a time when the next generation of leaders will be stepping into leadership positions around the world. And just like any leader, they will need a great mentor, great guidance, and great wisdom that has been passed down to them from previous generations. So you are given the opportunity to leave behind a time capsule for these leaders that they would then open in 20 years down the line, when, apparently the portals will be open, the world will be shifted, the golden age will be beginning in full force. And what would you include inside of the time capsule? It could be anything from physical, it could be non-physical, it could be a frequency, a vibration, a teaching, a word, a poem, a tool, whatever your mind can conceive of. But what would you include so that when these leaders open your time capsule, they're then equipped to have all the tools and wisdom necessary to be the best leaders that they can for this golden age that we're headed into?
Wow. Okay. What would I put in a time capsule for a future leader? Instinctively, what comes to mind would be a photograph of them when they were younger, their younger self. I would like them to open a time capsule and find a photograph of their 10-year-old self, their 21-year-old self, and their 28-year-old self. And to say thank you for those younger selves, because those younger selves got them to be where they are now, stepping into that position of leadership. We forget what we've been through to get to who we are. We forget the experiences that have formed us and formulated us into the magnificent person that we are right now. And if we're talking about the leaders of the future, let them remember who their younger selves were that got them there, and let them honor them. Because when we honor our younger self, it increases the wisdom, the compassion, and the love in our older self.
Very powerful, Julie. Thank you for your heart. Thank you for showing up with such power and such force. I definitely felt it through the screen. And I know that everyone tuning in also felt the same. So thank you so much. I know this will probably not be the last time that we speak, because I would love to weave together much more with you and continue to see you in your greatness. So thank you so much for allowing me to hold space, and I look forward to the next one.
Thank you. It would be my honor to come back. Thank you for having me. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.
Aho.